The rain that Wednesday evening was the kind Boston knew well, soft, steady, the sort of rain that didn't bother to announce itself. It slid down the tall windows of Marengo, the Italian restaurant tucked into a quiet corner of the North End, and turned the street lamps outside into smeared yellow halos. Inside, the air was warm with garlic and rosemary, the low hum of conversation, the faint piano from the corner where an old man played Puccini without sheet music. Damien Vance sat where he always sat on Wednesday nights, the corner table by the window, half hidden by a wooden divider, the seat that gave him a clear view of the door without being seen first. He wore a charcoal suit, black tie, a simple silver watch on his left wrist. The plate of saffron risotto in front of him had gone untouched for nearly 20 minutes. He wasn't hungry. He hadn't been hungry in a long time. 2 of his men sat 3 tables away, drinking espresso, pretending to read a newspaper. They were good at pretending. They had to be. The door opened, and a thin gust of wet air pushed inside. A little girl stepped in alone, no more than 6 years old, her navy raincoat dark across the shoulders where the rain had soaked through. She held a small canvas backpack against her chest like it was a thing she was afraid to drop. Her dark hair was damp at the ends. Her sneakers squeaked once on the polished floor before she remembered to walk softly. She moved between the tables with careful steps, scanning, and then she stopped in front of him. "Excuse me, sir," she said. "Can I sit here until my mom comes?" Damien looked up slowly. For a man whose eyes had taught grown men to look at the floor, his expression softened by half a degree. Surprise, mostly. He hadn't expected a child. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice polite but cool. "Why don't you find an empty table?" The girl glanced around the room. Every seat was taken, couples leaning toward each other over candles, a family laughing 2 tables down, a man typing on a laptop in the corner. "There aren't any, sir," she said. "Mom told me to wait inside because it's cold out there. I'll be very quiet." A waitress in a black apron appeared at her shoulder, her smile thin and apologetic. "Sweetheart, you can't stand here. Why don't you wait by the door? I'm sorry, ma'am." The girl's voice was steady, almost rehearsed in its politeness. "I'll be quiet. You won't even notice me." From behind, a heavier shadow stepped forward. Marcus Riley, broad-shouldered, his suit a touch too tailored, leaned down to Damien's ear. "Boss, let me handle this." Damien lifted one finger off the tablecloth. "Leave her, Marcus." Marcus paused. His eyes flicked over the girl once, twice, and something behind them sharpened, then went smooth again. He stepped back, but not before that flicker of recognition crossed his face. Damien didn't see it. The girl didn't either. Damien pulled out the chair across from him. "Sit down." She blinked at him, then climbed into the chair as if it were a piece of furniture in a museum. The backpack went onto her lap, her hands folded on top of it, knuckle over knuckle, exactly the way someone had taught her. "What's your name?" he asked. His voice had gentled without his permission. "Lily, sir. Lily Whitmore." The name hit him before he was ready for it. Whitmore. He held himself very still, the way a man holds himself when something he buried a long time ago suddenly knocks on the inside of a door. "Have you eaten yet, Lily?" "No, sir. Mom said we'd eat together when she gets back." He raised a hand. The waitress returned, softer now. "Roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, warm milk. Bread, please." Lily's eyes widened. "My mom will pay you back when she gets here. I promise. Consider it on me." For the first time in longer than he could remember, the corner of his mouth moved upward. She ate slowly, carefully, the way a child eats in someone else's kitchen. Every minute or two, her eyes flicked toward the door. Damien watched without watching. Her eyes were a particular gray-blue, not Clara's color, not exactly, but somewhere close. The color his mother's had been, before she died when he was a boy. Something cold and quiet stirred under his ribs, a premonition without a name. The door opened again. Lily lifted her face, and her whole body lit up at once. "Mom!" A young woman stepped through the door in a beige raincoat that the rain had turned 3 shades darker, her brown hair pulled back into a ponytail that had begun to come loose at the temples. Her cheeks were flushed from the cold. Her eyes scanned the room with the alert, half-frightened sweep of a mother who had been counting minutes for too long. When she saw Lily, the tension in her shoulders broke all at once. She crossed the room quickly and dropped to one knee beside the chair, her hands going to the girl's face, her arms, the damp hood of the navy coat. "I'm so sorry, baby," she said. "I was longer than I meant to be." "Were you good?" "I was good, Mom." Lily was already tugging at her sleeve, pointing. "Mom, this is the man who let me sit with him. He even bought me dinner." The woman lowered her head before she looked up. Her voice came out small, polite, the voice of someone used to apologizing to strangers. "I'm so sorry if she bothered you, sir. I had something urgent at the clinic next door." Damien had risen to his feet without thinking. It was a reflex from another life, a manner his father had pressed into him when he was a boy. Stand when a woman speaks to you. Stand when she enters a room. She lifted her face. Time, for a moment, did not move forward in the way it was supposed to. He saw her at 19, in a coffee shop near Tufts, a paperback open on the table between them, laughing at something he had said and trying to pretend she wasn't. "Clara," he said. The name came out lower than his usual voice, quieter. She took half a step back. The color left her face in one stroke. "Damien?" Lily looked from her mother to him, her small face creased with confusion. "Mom, do you know him?" Clara's hand closed tightly around her daughter's. "From a long time ago, sweetheart." A few feet away, Marcus had stopped pretending to read his paper. His eyes were on Clara, then on Lily, and they stayed on Lily a moment longer than they should have. Damien did not see it. Clara did not see it. Lily did not see it. "You just got here," Damien said. "At least sit down. Have a coffee." "Thank you, but no." Clara's voice was steady, but her hand was not. "Lily has a bedtime." She fumbled in her coat pocket, drew out a folded $20 bill, and laid it on the white tablecloth with deliberate care. "For her dinner." He pushed it back toward her with 2 fingers. "Clara, don't." "Damien." Her eyes were red around the rims, but her mouth held its line. "You're already here. I think the boundary is clear." "What boundary?" Lily asked, looking up. Clara's smile barely held. "Nothing, baby." Damien stepped forward, lowering his voice. "Where do you live?" "Is there a way I can, Damien?" She cut him off, gently. "Finally, it's been 7 years. Please, let it stay that way. 7 years." The number landed in his chest and stayed there. His eyes moved, against his will, to Lily. Clara guided the girl toward the door, one hand at her back. Lily turned at the threshold and lifted her hand in a small wave. "Bye, mister. Thank you for dinner." The door closed behind them. The rain swallowed the sound of their footsteps in less than a breath. Damien stood where he was. Through the wet glass, he watched 2 figures grow smaller down the sidewalk. A tall, slender shape, and a smaller one bouncing slightly to keep up until the angle of the street took them. Marcus was at his elbow. "Boss, you want me to look into her?" "No." Damien's voice was flat. "Leave her alone." But when he turned back to his table, his eyes caught on something he had not seen before. The white napkin Lily had used. She had folded it into a neat, careful square before she got up. The corners aligned the way a child does when she has been taught that other people's tables matter. Beside the napkin, half hidden under the rim of the plate, was a small silver hair clip in the shape of a swallow. He picked it up. He had given Clara a clip just like it the autumn she turned 19. His hand closed around it. The metal was warm. A few feet behind him, Marcus had already turned away, his thumb moving over the screen of his phone, his back to the room. Damien did not see it. Whatever had begun, had begun. The house on Beacon Hill stood dark except for the library on the 2nd floor. Damien stood by the fireplace with a glass of whiskey he had not touched, watching the low fire the way a man watches a clock he cannot read. The silver swallow clip lay on the table beside him. He had not slept. He did not intend to. His mind kept slipping backward. 8 years ago, he had been 29. His father had been shot dead at a corner table at Laconca 11 days before, and Damien had inherited a house, a name, 200 men, and a list of enemies, as long as his arm. He had met her 2 months later in a coffee shop near Tufts. She was 20, a nursing student, her hair falling out of a clip shaped like a swallow. She thought he worked in real estate. He let her think it. The days became 14 months, the only happy months of his adult life. It ended the night a black sedan began parking outside her building. 3 days running. Different plates. Same driver. He knew what that meant. "If I don't let her go," he had told himself, "they will kill her to teach me a lesson." He had gone to her studio at 11 at night, with the lie already built in his mouth. "I don't love you the way you think I do, Clara. I've been engaged to someone else this whole time." He had said it without blinking. Cruelty was the only door he could lock behind him. She had cried. She had thrown the small silver ring at his chest. She had told him to get out, and her voice had broken on the second word. He had stood in the rain on her street for nearly an hour before driving home. The next morning he had put 2 of his quietest men on her for 3 months. Then word came that she had moved with no forwarding address. He had told himself that not looking was love. He turned the clip in his fingers. 7 years. If she had carried a child from that night, The child would be 6 now. Lily was 6. The gray blue of her eyes, he had been telling himself all evening it was a trick of candlelight. It was not. That color came from the Vance side. It had belonged to his grandmother, and to his mother. He set the glass down. His hand was not entirely steady. He took out his phone and dialed a number that was in no contact list. Walter, I need everything on a Clara Whitmore, Boston area, quietly, off the books, nothing through the firm. He paused. And the child, Lily Whitmore, I need her exact date of birth. Across the river, in a small apartment in Dorchester, Clara pulled the blanket up to her daughter's chin. Lily's voice came thick with sleep. Mom, that man was nice. Clara bent, kissed her forehead, and did not trust herself to answer. She stepped into the hallway and let her back find the wall. Her hands found her face. 7 years she had spent building a life that did not have his name in it. School, work, a child, rent, sleep, a small, ordinary life she had earned with both hands. In a single rainy hour, all of it had cracked down the middle. He can't know, she whispered to the dark. He can never know. Outside, 4 houses down, a black car sat with its engine off. Marcus Riley lowered a small camera, looked at the photograph he had just taken, and lifted his phone to his ear. It's me, he said quietly. I have her address. 3 days later, Walter delivered the file in person. A thin manila envelope, hand to hand, no email, no copy. Damien opened it at his desk in the library, where the fire had not been lit again since that night. Clara Whitmore, 28. Registered nurse, Kearney Community Hospital. Single mother, 1 daughter, Lily Whitmore. Date of birth, March 14th, 7 years prior. He did the arithmetic without meaning to. The night he had walked out of her apartment had been the first week of June, 8 years ago. 9 months and 10 days, almost to the day, before the date on the page. It was too clean to be coincidence. He read further. Father, unknown. He sat at the desk without moving for what was probably half an hour. He did not pour a drink. He did not pick up the phone. When he finally stood, he carried the file to the fireplace, struck a match, and watched the paper curl black at the edges and then collapse into itself. There would be no copy. That afternoon, for the first time in years, he drove himself. No Eli in the passenger seat, no second car behind him. He parked half a block from her building in Dorchester and waited. At 3:40, Clara came around the corner with Lily by the hand. The girl was carrying a sheet of construction paper, a drawing of something he could not make out from that distance, and she was talking with her whole body, small hands lifting, head tilting, that particular skipping half-step of a child who has not finished the sentence she started 2 blocks ago. Then Lily threw her head back and laughed. Damien's hands went still on the wheel. That was his laugh, the one he had not used in years, the one his mother used to coax out of him when he was a boy. He did not get out of the car. He watched until the door of the building closed behind them. That night he called the hospital's main line and asked for Nurse Whitmore. A long pause, the click of a transfer, and then her voice, professional and a little tired. Nurse Whitmore speaking. Clara, it's me. The intake of breath was small, but he heard it. How did you get this number? I need to see you. One time. Damien, don't do this. I have my own life. I know. I'm not coming to break it. A silence. Then, quieter. What do you want? He had thought through every version of the question and could not ask any of them on a phone line. A coffee. 30 minutes. Anywhere you choose. She refused twice. The third time, with a tightness in her voice he remembered too well, she said, Tate. The one in Brookline. Saturday, 10. I don't have long. Saturday morning he was there 15 minutes early. No suit, a gray wool sweater, dark jeans, the kind of clothes she had once known him in. He took a corner table where the light was soft and the noise of the espresso machine would cover their voices. She arrived exactly on time. Her face was set. She did not take off her coat. She refused the menu and ordered a black coffee. When the waitress was gone, she folded her hands around the cup the way a person braces for cold. Whatever you want to say, Damien, say it fast. He took the small swallow clip out of his pocket and set it on the table between them. Lily dropped this. Clara looked at it. Her eyes filled, then cleared. Thank you for bringing it back. He looked at her. He did not look away. Clara, is Lily mine? Her hand jerked once around the cup. She set it down too carefully. The silence that followed was long enough to count 3 breaths. No. Her voice came out level, almost flat. She isn't. Clara. Her father's name was David. We were together right after you and I ended. He died in a car accident before she was born. He let his eyes rest on her face. He had been read by men who were paid to read men, and he had read them back. He could see the lie sit on her shoulders like a coat that did not fit. He could also see that she was afraid. All right then. He stood. He took a 20 from his wallet and laid it under the saucer. I'm sorry I bothered you. He walked out without looking back. Clara did not turn her head. Her hands stayed locked around the cup. On the sidewalk, he stopped once and looked through the window. She was still sitting exactly as he had left her, her shoulders folded inward, the swallow clip untouched on the table. He had read what was in her eyes. He kept walking. Clara walked the 4 blocks home from Tade without feeling the pavement. Lily looked up from the kitchen table. Did you get what you needed at the store, Mom? I did, baby. She had not been to a store. She turned her back so Lily would not see her face. That night, she sat in the chair beside her daughter's bed and watched her breathe. Her mind slipped backward. 7 years ago, she had been 21. A studio in Alston, 4 flights up. After he walked out, she had cried for a week. On the 8th night, she had thrown up her dinner, a pharmacy at midnight, 2 pink lines. She had decided that same hour to tell him. She had taken a taxi toward his apartment on Charles Street. On the way, the driver had a Boston Globe folded on the passenger seat. Shooting at North End restaurant Vance Hare survives, 2 bodyguards dead. Her eyes found the photograph before her brain did, the face she had kissed 2 weeks before. She had understood 3 things in less than a minute. He had not been in real estate. The reason he had left her was not another woman. The danger waiting for her on her street had teeth she had been too young to imagine. She had sat across from his building for 20 minutes without getting out. Then she had told the driver to take her home. She would not bring a child into a house with that name on the door. She could not end the pregnancy, so she would carry the child alone. And Damien Vance would not know. She moved to her aunt's place in Worcester within a week. She lived there 4 years, finished her nursing degree by night, put father unknown on the birth certificate. When Lily was 4, she came back to Boston for the job at Kearney. She never crossed into the North End. She will never grow up with that bloody name, she told herself, like a prayer with the edges worn smooth. The night at Marengo had been an accident. A hospice patient she counseled at the small clinic across the street had kept her past her shift. Lily had been passed from one neighbor to another until the only place left to put a tired 6-year-old was inside, out of the rain. At 2 a.m, Clara took out a sheet of paper. Damien, please don't look for us. For Lily. For you too. She folded it into an envelope and put it in the drawer of her bedside table. She did not address it. Monday morning, she dropped Lily at school and went to work. In the break room, Sarah sat down across from her. You didn't sleep. I didn't. Is somebody bothering you, Claire? There was a black car parked across from the entrance yesterday. Older guy in the front seat. I thought it was a patient's family. Clara set her cup down a little too quickly. A black car? Just for an hour. Why? No reason. The cold that climbed her spine was not fear of Damien. She had read enough to know what family meant in that world. If someone was watching her, it might not be him. At lunch, she called Lily's school. Only I am to pick her up. Not anyone who says they're a relative. Only me, in person. After her shift, she took the long way to the school. 3 checks of her mirror. She saw nothing. The unease did not leave her. A block and a half behind her, on the opposite side of the street, Marcus Riley lowered a small pair of binoculars and picked up a phone with no contacts saved. It's me. Target is still in Boston. The kid too. He paused. Boss Calloway, how do you want me to handle this? That evening, 3 men sat around the long oak table in Damien's library on Beacon Hill. The fire was lit this time. Damien stood at the head. A folder closed in front of him. Marcus Riley was on his right. Joey Donnelly, the family's legal counsel, sat in the middle, a notepad in his lap. Eli Fontaine, the head of security, 61 years old, gray at the temples, the only man in the room who had served Damien's father, sat at the far end where he could see the door. 12 months, Damien said. By the end of next year, we are out of arms entirely. The family becomes restaurants and real estate. Nothing else. The trade goes to whoever wants it. Joey wrote a single line in his notepad and underlined it. Eli nodded once, slowly. It is the right move. Marcus leaned forward. Boss, Calloway will read this as weakness. The minute the word gets out that Vance is stepping back, his men will be in our streets. Or, Damien said, they will read it as a chance for peace. They have never read anything as a chance for peace. Damien did not raise his voice. I am not asking, Marcus. I am telling you the direction. Marcus held his eyes a half-second too long, then dropped his gaze and nodded. When the meeting ended, Damien lifted a hand. Eli, stay. The other two left. Marcus closed the door behind him. Damien waited until he heard the second door at the end of the corridor. Run a check, he said quietly. Quietly. Everyone in the house. Phone records, movements, contacts, everyone. Including Marcus. Eli did not look surprised, but he allowed a small pause. You suspect him? I don't know yet, but there is a woman and a child I need protected. Off the books. Nothing through anyone but you. He slid a folded slip of paper across the table. Clara's address, plainclothes, distance. You report to me, only. Eli took the paper, read it once, and put it inside his jacket. He had never asked Damien a question that was not necessary, and he did not start now. Across the river, in the basement of his row house in the South End, Marcus Riley lifted a burner phone from a locked drawer and dialed a number he kept in his head. Vance has a daughter. His voice was low. Off the books. 6 years old. The mother is a nurse at Kearney. The voice that answered was the voice of a man who had been 60 for a long time. Vincent Calloway. That is interesting. He's hiding her from the family. Nobody else knows. We get the kid. We put him on his knees. You will not move tonight. Calloway's tone did not lift. Children are a line the other houses will not cross with us. We do this clean, fast, no fingerprints. Plan it properly. I want it done in such a way that it looks like an accident or a third party. Yes, sir. And Riley, if you fail, do not come home. The line went dead. Marcus opened a laptop and pulled up 2 photographs of Lily on a school playground in a red coat. He did not know that. 2 streets over, 2 of Eli's men were already sitting in a dark sedan watching his front door. They had been there for 90 minutes. They watched Marcus leave at 11:38, drive to an empty municipal lot in Roxbury, sit there for 19 minutes, and drive back. By morning, Eli had no recordings, no photos of a face, no plate of a second car, only a pattern that did not belong to a man with nothing to hide. He carried the report up to Damien at 7. It is not enough to confront him with. I need more time. Time is what I don't have. Damien was already on his feet, jacket over his arm. If Marcus is moving at night, he is moving on Clara and Lily. What do you want to do? I am going to warn her, he called from the car. The line rang twice and went to voicemail. He waited 10 minutes and called again. Voicemail. He left a message, short, no name, the voice of a man who had measured every word. Clara, you and Lily may be in danger. Please call this number. It is private. Clara saw the message at 12:15, sitting in the staff break room with a half-eaten sandwich in front of her. Her hand began to shake before she had finished reading it. She walked into the empty hallway by the linen closet and called him back. Damien, what are you talking about? Can you trust me one last time? I need you and Lily to come to me. Tonight. The call lasted 4 minutes. You cannot ask me to trust you after 7 years, Clara said. Her voice was thinner than she wanted it to be. I know. I am asking anyway. For Lily. She held her breath for a beat. It was the first time he had said her daughter's name with anything that sounded like tenderness, and the sound of it landed somewhere she had not let anyone reach in a long time. I will not come to your house. Then anywhere you choose, public, where there are people. Marengo. 7. The private room upstairs. My men will be at the door. Whose men? Mine. Not Marcus. She closed her eyes against the cinder block wall of the linen corridor. 7. She ended the call before she could change her mind. She walked back to the break room, sat down at the table where her sandwich was still in its wax paper, and lowered her forehead onto her crossed arms. The fluorescent light above her hummed. Sarah came in 5 minutes later, saw her, and sat down across from her without saying anything. She did not touch her, did not ask. She just sat. After a long while, Clara lifted her face. Sarah, if you found out the father of your child was somebody you thought could never be in your child's life, what would you do? Sarah looked at her carefully. We are not talking about a hypothetical. Clara shook her head once. I have lied to Lily's father for 7 years, she said, and today I lied to his face. Sarah did not answer for a moment. You had a reason. You are the best mother I know. You did not lie out of selfishness. And if Lily grows up and finds out I took her father away from her. Sarah opened her mouth and closed it. Clara left the hospital at 3. She picked Lily up from school with both hands wrapped around the steering wheel for too long at every stoplight. They had pasta at home. Lily was full of the day. Mia's birthday party on Saturday. Mrs. Halloran had said her flamingo drawing was the best in the class. A boy named Owen had eaten a crayon at recess. Clara watched her chew. Her chest hurt. Lily. Yeah, Mom. Have you ever been curious about your dad? Lily stopped mid-bite. Yes. She set her fork down very carefully. But you got sad when I asked, so I stopped asking. Clara reached across the small table and took her daughter's hand. I'm sorry, baby. I never wanted you to feel like you weren't allowed to ask. If I knew him one day, what would happen? Clara made her voice steady. Do you want to know him? Lily thought about it the way she thought about hard math. I want to know if he loves me. If he does, I want to know. Clara swallowed and could not answer for a beat. She squeezed the small hand instead. After Lily was in bed, Clara stood in the bathroom in front of the mirror for a long time. Her face in the light looked older than it had that morning. Do I have the right to keep her from him? She asked the woman in the mirror. Am I sure he is bad? Or only that I am afraid? The memories came without permission. He had given her books instead of flowers. He had remembered she did not like onions. He had stood in the rain outside her door once for 40 minutes when her father died, because she had said she did not want to talk, and he did not want her to think she was alone. That man might be a mafia boss. He had also loved her with his whole chest, and the night he had walked out, the more she counted. The closer the math got. He had ended it the week before the shooting at Marengo. Not after. Before. He had known something was coming, and he had wanted her out of the line of it. That had been how he protected her. She sat down on the edge of the bed. The tears, when they came quietly. I have had him wrong for 7 years. She picked up her phone. 7 o'clock. I will be there. It was the first message of a life she had not yet decided to live. Across town, in a black sedan parked half a block from Lily's elementary school, Marcus Riley sat with a small notebook open on his knee. He had drawn the outline of the building. He had marked the side door, the dumpster bay, the line of sight from the crossing guard's post. He had written a time next to each. He underlined one of them twice. At 7 o'clock that Wednesday, Clara stepped into Marengo for the second time in 2 weeks. The hostess did not ask for a name. She was led through the side door, up a narrow staircase she had never noticed, to a private room on the second floor. 2 men in dark coats stood on either side of the door. Neither of them was Marcus. They did not speak. The shorter one opened the door for her without meeting her eyes. The room was small, warm, low-lit. A round table for 4, a window looking down onto Hanover Street, where the rain had started up again, and the brake lights of slow traffic crawled in the wet glass. Damien was already standing. Something in his face when she walked in was not the face she had seen at Tate. He looked, for an instant, like a man who had not been quite ready. Sit down, he said. She did not sit. She stayed near the door, her bag still on her shoulder. You said you had something to warn me about. Say it. Sit down, Clara. I need to tell you everything. No more pieces. She lowered herself into the chair across from him. She set her bag on the seat beside her, not on the floor. He took a breath, the way a man does before he steps off a ledge. I am the head of the Vance family. I inherited it 8 years ago, 2 months before I met you in the coffee shop at Tufts. Clara's face did not change. I know, she said. I have known for 7 years. It is why I left. He went still. You knew. She told him. The taxi. The newspaper folded on the passenger seat. The headline. The photograph. The moment her brain had caught up with what her eyes had already seen. I went to your apartment that night. I was going to tell you. Her voice flattened. Tell you I was pregnant. He lifted his head. Clara, I read the article in the cab and I told the driver to turn around. I would not have my child grow up inside that. She did not soften her face. She did not look away. Lily is yours. I lied to you at Tate. I am sorry I lied. I am not sorry I raised her alone for 6 years. He closed his eyes. His hands locked together on the table, knuckles paling. For nearly a full minute, he did not speak. When he opened his eyes, his voice came out lower than usual, almost rough. Thank you. For keeping her. For not I couldn't. She cut him off. Even when, for 1 bad week, I thought about it. A long silence. He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, an umbrella crossed the street and disappeared. Clara, I am stepping out of the family. 12 months. The transition is already underway. She turned in her chair. You mean it. The night I left you, I did not want this life anymore. I did not have a way out. My father had been dead 11 days. 200 men were under me. If I had walked then, the streets would have caught fire. He turned back to her. I am strong enough now to walk without bloodshed. I am negotiating it. She studied his face for a long beat. Damien, you said warning. Warning of what? He told her. Marcus's pattern at night, the drive to the empty lot. Eli's instinct, his own. Her face went white. Sarah saw a black car at the hospital. That could be one of my men. Or his. I cannot promise which. He came back from the window and sat down. Tonight, you and Lily come back with me. To the house on Beacon Hill. Stay until I am done with him. No. She did not even pause. Lily will not sleep one night under a Mafia roof. You cannot go back to that apartment. It is not safe. They argued it down to a hotel, a place Eli would book under a name that touched no Vance paper. No connection on record. 2 floors of his men, all in plain clothes. Damien stood. I will take you to get her now. She nodded and stood up. He hesitated at the door. Clara. His voice was very quiet. I am sorry. For that night. For not trusting you to be strong enough to know the truth. She did not answer, but for the first time in 7 years, she did not turn her face away from him. At 8:30, Damien and Clara left Marengo through the kitchen entrance. Eli's black SUV was idling in the alley. Clara took the back seat. Damien drove. Eli rode shotgun, one hand resting easy on the door handle in the way of a man whose hand was never empty for long. They cut south through the rain. No one spoke until they were 2 blocks from the apartment in Dorchester. 3 minutes, Damien said. Get her. Get a bag. Come down. Clara nodded once. She did not trust her voice. She let herself in upstairs. Lily was on the couch with the neighbor's daughter, both of them under a blanket, watching a cartoon about a polar bear. The neighbor stood up. Everything okay? Everything's fine. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Halloran. We have to go. Lily turned, and her face brightened. She had spotted the SUV through the window. Her small hand pointed. Mom, that's the man from the restaurant. Clara made her voice cheerful. It came out almost convincing. It is, baby. He's taking us to a hotel for one night. A little surprise. Lily lit up the way only a 6-year-old can light up at the word hotel. She ran to her room. Clara stuffed 2 changes of clothes, the tooth fairy box of milk teeth she would not leave behind, and Lily's old brown bear into a duffel. Lily added a picture book and her drawing folder. 10 minutes, maybe a little more. Down on the street, Eli's eyes flicked to the side mirror. Boss. Movement. 4 men. 9 o'clock. Other end of the block. Damien's hand was on his phone before Eli finished the sentence. Clara, take her down the back stairs. Now. He did not wait for her answer. She heard the change in his voice through the receiver and obeyed before her brain caught up. She lifted Lily, duffel in the other hand. Hold on to Mommy. The first shot cracked from the front of the building, then a second. Lily screamed into Clara's shoulder. Quiet, baby. Hold on. Damien was out of the SUV with a pistol in his hand before the second shot finished. Eli was out a half-beat later, taking cover behind the engine block, returning fire short and controlled to make the men at the front of the block keep their heads down. Damien went around the building, up the rear stairs 2 at a time. He met Clara on the 2nd-floor landing. Lily lifted her face from her mother's collar and her eyes fixed on his hand. You have a gun. He put it behind his back, into the waistband, and crouched to her level. Lily, close your eyes for me. Don't look. Can you do that? She nodded once and pressed her face hard into her mother's neck. He took Clara's elbow and moved them down the rear stairwell, through the basement door, out into the small alley behind the dumpsters. Eli's voice on the phone. Terse, I have them. Go. Go. Damien hit a contact and a second car, parked 2 streets over for exactly this kind of night, pulled up at the mouth of the alley with its lights off. They were inside in less than 10 seconds. The driver pulled away without burning the tires. Behind them, 2 more shots and a third. Then Eli's deeper bark of a return. Cambridge safe house, Damien said. Side streets only, no bridges with cameras. Lily was shaking against her mother. Clara held her so tightly her own arms began to ache. Damien turned in the front seat and looked at them. He had seen many things in his life. He had not seen his own daughter trembling in fear in the back of a car. Something rose in him that he did not have a name for. It was hot and quiet and final. The safe house was a clapboard 2-story on a side street, a porch light on a timer, a small back garden no neighbor could see. Damien carried the duffel. Clara carried Lily. The girl had stopped shaking by the time they reached the bedroom on the 2nd floor, but only because exhaustion had taken her. Clara lay down on the bed beside her. Within minutes, Lily was asleep with her fist closed around the bear. Damien stood in the doorway. She's all right. Clara stepped out into the hallway and pulled the door almost shut. Damien, who just tried to kill us? Marcus. His voice was flat. As I suspected. He works for Calloway. His phone buzzed. Eli, on the line. He and 2 of the men had taken hits, none serious. Marcus had broken contact and gone to ground with 3 of the 4. Damien lowered the phone. He will not stop. He knows now that I know. They will come back sooner. Harder. Clara pressed her hand flat against her chest. Then what do we do? By 8 in the morning, the kitchen of the Cambridge safe house had become a war room. Maps of Boston and the South Shore were spread across the small wooden table. A laptop sat open at the head of it, a fresh pot of coffee beside it. Outside, the rain had finally let go, and a thin gray light came through the back windows. Eli stood at the table with a small bandage above his left eyebrow and another along his forearm. Joey Donnelly had arrived at 6 with a briefcase and an expression that Damien had seen on him only twice before, once after the death of his father and once after the bombing in Charlestown 4 years ago. A third man, 26, broad in the shoulders, was introduced to Clara only as Theo. He was the night man at the safe house. He did not sit. He stood by the back door. Clara took the chair in the corner, away from the table, where she could see the staircase. Lily was still asleep upstairs. Damien laid it out in 3 sentences. Marcus has gone over to Callaway. Callaway is moving on the woman and the child. We have until tonight, maybe 2 nights, before the next attempt. Joey opened his briefcase. Boss, I propose we move them out of state. North Carolina, maybe Florida. 6 months of quiet. New names on a private lease. Not enough. Eli did not look up from the map. Callaway has people across the whole southeast. They will find them. Damien turned a coffee cup on the table without drinking from it. And I am not raising my family to spend the rest of their lives behind locked doors. Clara's head came up. My family. He had said it without seeming to notice he had said it. He did notice. He did not take it back. He turned to her. Clara, what do you think? The 3 men shifted to look at her. She had not been asked an opinion in a meeting since she could remember. For a second, she could not find her voice. I do not understand your world, she said, but I know one thing. If we run, she grows up afraid of every black car on the street. I will not have that for her. Damien nodded slowly. Right. He set the cup down. 2 steps. First, the woman and the child stay safe here. Then somewhere quieter, until this is closed. Second, we do not run from Marcus. We bring him in, and then we make Callaway sit at a table. Joey's pen stopped. Boss. Vincent Callaway is 60 years old. He has buried 2 sons in our wars. He will not sit at a table for any reason short of a gun, which is why I am not going to put a gun on the table. Damien paused. I am going to put down what he wants more than anything else. Eli looked up. What? Our exit from arms. The whole Northeast market goes to him. We are gone in 6 months. For a long beat, none of the 3 men spoke. Joey sat back slowly in his chair. Boss, that is 60% of the family's revenue. I had already decided to walk away from that line. I am only walking sooner. In return, Callaway signs a permanent ceasefire, witnessed by the Russos. And he hands me Marcus. Clara had not blinked since Damien had begun to speak. She was watching him make a decision that would gut a 30-year empire, and she understood, with a small, painful clarity, that he was making it for her and for her daughter. The meeting broke an hour later. Joey began drafting language. Eli took Theo into the next room to plan watches. Damien carried his coffee out to the small back porch. The cold morning air cleared his head. After a minute, he heard the sliding door. Clara stepped out and pulled her cardigan tight around her arms. You are giving up an empire. For us. I am giving up an empire that already cost me you once. I am not letting it cost me you and Lily a second time. She did not answer for a while. She looked out at the wet garden. Damien, you should know. Even when this is over, I'm not sure I can stay with you. He nodded. I know. I am not asking you to promise me anything. I am only asking you to let me protect my child. He paused. And you, whoever you choose, later, you will always be protected. That part does not change. Behind them, the kitchen door creaked open. Lily stood in the doorway, the brown bear under one arm, her hair sleep pressed to one side. Mom, where's the man? Mr. Will know. The Damien. He turned. You can call me Damien. She rubbed her eye with the heel of her hand. Damien, do you have pancakes? For the first time in his adult life, Damien smiled at a child. I will find a way to have pancakes. 3 days at the Cambridge safe house. Time held its breath. Damien did not leave the property. Eli handled the calls outside. Joey worked the Marcus problem from a borrowed law office in Brighton. The world outside kept moving in the way the world always does. And inside the small clapboard house, 3 people who had not lived under one roof began, in small, unsteady steps, to do exactly that. The first morning, Damien stood at the kitchen counter at 7, a phone propped against the salt shaker, a video on the screen titled, "Perfect Buttermilk Pancakes in 10 Minutes." He had read documents in 7 languages. He had never read a recipe. Lily climbed onto a chair beside him. "You are stirring too hard. Mom stirs softer." From the next room, Clara called, "Lily, do not direct him." "I am helping, Mom!" The first 3 pancakes were dark at the edges. Lily ate one with both hands and pronounced solemnly, "This is the best pancake I have had in this house. This is the only house where you have eaten a pancake I made," Damien said. She tilted her head. "Right, so it is the best one ever." Something warm moved under his ribs and stayed there. In the afternoon, she asked him to read. Clara had packed Charlotte's Web in the bottom of the duffel. Damien had not held a children's book in nearly 30 years. He sat on the couch and Lily pulled herself up beside him and leaned her small weight against his shoulder. And he read in his low, even voice the way he used to read poetry quietly to a girl in a coffee shop near Tufts. Clara watched from the doorway with her arms crossed. She remembered. Of course she remembered. He had loved books. It had been the part of him no one in his world knew about. The part she had thought was the real part, before she had known the rest of it. The second night, Damien tucked Lily in, Brown Bear under her arm, the nightlight on a low setting. "Damien, do you have a wife?" "No. Do you have any children?" He stopped with his hand on the blanket. "I have just found out that I do. Recently." She opened her eyes wide. "How old is she?" 6. Like you. Does she know you are her dad?" "Not yet. I hope she will, one day." Lily considered this with her whole face. "You should tell her. Everybody needs to know who their dad is." He could not answer. He bent and kissed her forehead before he could stop himself, and then pulled back as if the gesture had surprised him too. Her eyes were already closing. She did not protest. He stepped into the hallway and closed the door softly. Clara was standing against the opposite wall, with her arms wrapped around her own elbows. She had heard. "I am sorry," he said. "I should not have kissed her. Not before you said I could." "Damien," her voice was very low. "You are her father. You are allowed to kiss her." He looked at her for a moment. "Will you let me tell her?" Clara was quiet for a long beat. "Not yet. Not while we are running. When this is over, I want to tell her myself. With you there." He nodded. He understood. She started to turn toward the bedroom, then stopped. "Damien, were you ever engaged? After me?" "No." "Did you love anyone?" "Never." She did not ask him anything else. She went into the room and lay down beside her daughter and pulled the blanket over both of them. Damien went downstairs. He opened the laptop on the kitchen table and began the document he would need for Calloway. 2 columns. What he would give. What he would require. The Cambridge night was quiet. Yellow porch light through the window. Theo on watch in the front room. At 11, Eli called. "Boss, I have Marcus. A warehouse in Quincy. He is putting the next move together. Calloway is moving real numbers. 2 nights, maybe less." Damien did not raise his voice. "Then we get there first." That same night, in a corrugated steel warehouse off Quincy Avenue, Marcus Riley sat across a long folding table from Vincent Calloway. 6 of Calloway's men stood along the wall. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed at the wrong frequency. "You failed once," Calloway said. His voice was the sound of a stone being dragged across another stone. "There will not be a second failure. Vance has them tucked away," Marcus said. "I have eyes on every old Vance safe house in 3 counties. Nothing yet. Then what is your plan?" Marcus's mouth turned at the corner. The smile of a man who liked his own ideas. "He will have to surface. We hit a place he cannot afford to ignore." "Where?" "Kearney Community Hospital, where the Whitmore woman works. We do not take her. We send a message. If he does not deliver the girl, every nurse on her shift starts paying the bill." The room shifted, very slightly. Even Calloway, who had ordered men shot in the back of the head and sent the photographs, paused before he answered. "That is a line. Boss, we do not have to hurt anyone. A small device in the staff lot. No casualties. Just smoke and broken glass. Damien will hear the message." Calloway looked at the floor for a long moment. "Fine, but if it does not move him, we go harder." "Understood." Marcus left at 1:30, drove home with the windows half down, the cold November air on his face. He did not know that one of the 6 men along the wall was a man Eli Fontaine had been paying for 6 months. His name was Cole. He waited until Marcus was 3 blocks gone, then walked to the back of the warehouse, lit a cigarette he did not smoke, and dialed. "He is putting a device in the lot at Kearney. Day after tomorrow, 8 in the evening. Threat job, no kills." Eli was at the safe house by 1 a.m. and had Damien up at the kitchen table with 2 cups of coffee inside 10 minutes. Damien did not blink. We take him at the warehouse before he leaves for Kearney. We bring him in alive. Calloway loses an asset in the middle of his own operation. That puts him at the table. He picked up his phone. Joey, draft the proposal. Long form. I want it in my hand when I have Marcus. By morning, Damien was packed. He found Clara in the kitchen with Lily's empty cereal bowl in front of her. The girl was upstairs brushing her teeth. I will be gone 2 nights. Eli and Theo stay with you. Both of them, the whole time. The house is locked down. Clara looked up. Where are you going? To finish Marcus. Nothing more. Nothing less. She reached across the table and closed her hand around his wrist. Damien, do not kill him. He stopped. He looked at her hand on his wrist, as if it were the strangest thing in the room. Why not? Because if you kill him, you never get out of that world. You become the man who killed somebody in Lily's eyes, even if she never knows the details. There is a line you cross, and there is no coming back. He was silent for a beat. Then what do you want me to do? Take him alive, give him to the police, or hand him back to Calloway with a fist around his neck, but not in a body bag. He looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded once. All right, I will listen. It was the first time in his adult life he had altered an order because of a woman's voice. Footsteps on the stairs. Lily came around the corner in her socks, the brown bear under her arm. Damien, you are leaving. You are coming back, right? Yes, Lily. 2 days. Promise? Promise. She held the bear up to him with both hands. Take him with you. He keeps people safe. He took the small bear. The fur was matted at one ear from 1,000 nights of being held. He did not know what to do with the feeling in his chest, so he tucked the bear inside his coat, against the inner pocket where his phone usually went. Thank you. He left through the back door with 2 of his men behind him. Clara stood at the front window and watched the SUV pull away through the bare trees on the side street. For the first time in 8 years, she was not afraid of him. She was afraid for him. Friday night, 7 o'clock. 1 hour before Marcus had planned to drive a sedan with a small device in its trunk into the staff lot at Kearney, Damien and 8 of his men were already inside the warehouse off Quincy Avenue. Eli had set the lines 2 hours before. 2 men at the rear door, 3 at the front, 3 with Damien at the side service entrance. Cole, the man Eli had been paying for 6 months, had unlocked the back at 6:53 and walked out with a clipboard like he was checking the loading dock. Marcus was at the far end of the floor with 4 men around an old Chrysler. He was leaning into the open trunk, hands inside it. The smell of solder and electrical tape sat over the cold concrete. Damien stepped out from behind the steel pillar. His pistol was in his hand. He did not raise it. Marcus. Marcus jerked upright. His hand went to his hip. Behind him, Eli's voice came low, and even from the dark of the back doorway, "Don't." Marcus turned his head a fraction. Eli's barrel was 4 feet from his spine. "Drop it." He dropped it. 2 of his men broke for the side door. Theo took them at the legs in 2 clean shots, a pop, and they went down without dying. The other 2 raised their hands. Damien walked the length of the warehouse without hurrying. He stopped 6 feet from Marcus. "Did you know? I am not here to kill you." Marcus's mouth twisted. "What then? Mercy? Going soft on me, Damien? I am here to give you a choice. 1, you give us everything you have on Calloway. You walk into a federal interview tomorrow. You take 20 years. Or 2, I hand you back to Calloway with paperwork that says you ran this operation alone." Marcus's smirk thinned out. "Calloway does not forgive a man who blows up his plan. You know that. Then choice 1. His voice was a hiss. "Cops, at least. Let me live." Damien nodded. From the side door, Joey came in with a laptop and a digital recorder, both already set up. He took the small folding table that had held the wiring kit, swept the parts to the floor with one arm, and set the equipment down on it. For 2 hours, Marcus talked. Names, dates, the Albanian shipments out of Chelsea, the bribed deputy in Suffolk County, the 2 unsolved bodies in the Mystic River Reservation, Calloway's structure, top to bottom, including a cousin in Providence Damien had not even known about. Joey recorded. Joey wrote, "Outside, Eli and 2 men were lifting the device out of the Chrysler's trunk, snipping the leads, separating the detonator from the charge." When Marcus came up for air, Damien stepped closer. 11 years. Why? Marcus did not look up at first. When he did, his face was older than Damien had ever seen it. "Calloway threatened my sister. She is in Vermont with my 2 nieces. I did not have a choice." For a beat, Damien did not speak. He had not known Marcus had a sister. "Why didn't you come to me?" because by the time I would have, I was already too far in. Marcus laughed, and there was nothing in it. When the job became the woman and the kid, I tried to slow it. Calloway told me he would put a man on my sister's porch first. I made the wrong call. I know I did. Damien stood for a long time without moving. Then he turned to Joey. Get a hold of the Vermont State Police. Today, I want his sister and his nieces in protective custody by sunrise. The family fund covers it. Quietly, Marcus looked up sharply. Boss, you confess. Your sister stays alive. That is the last thing I am ever going to say to you. By 11 that night, an anonymous call from a payphone in Dorchester sent 2 Boston PD cruisers to the warehouse off Quincy Avenue. They found Marcus Riley seated on the concrete with a confession on a thumb drive in his shirt pocket, 4 restrained men beside him, and a deactivated explosive device on the floor. Damien and his men had gone 20 minutes before. At 11:30, from the passenger seat of an unmarked car on the Mass Pike, Damien dialed a number from a fresh phone. Marcus is in the back of a Boston police car with everything he had on you. Vincent Calloway did not speak for a long while. Tomorrow, 10 in the morning, St. Stephen's, you and me, we talk. You have nerve, kid. It is not nerve. It is that I have something you want more than nerve. The line went dead. Damien was back at the Cambridge safe house at 1 in the morning. He sat in the dark on the porch for a few minutes before he went inside, the brown bear still inside his coat, against his ribs. Clara was still up when he came in through the back door. The lamp in the living room was on low. A blanket was folded over the arm of the couch where she had been sitting for the last 3 hours. You okay? I am okay. Marcus is with the police. I see Calloway in the morning. She let out a breath she had been carrying since dinner. You didn't, I listened to you. He is alive. She looked at him properly then. He was standing by the door because his coat was wet at the shoulders, and he did not want to bring the cold into the room. There was dust on the lapel, and a thin red line along his cheekbone where something had grazed him on the way out. She went to the small bathroom and came back with a cotton ball and a brown bottle. Sit. He sat. She tilted his face toward the lamp with 2 fingers under his jaw and cleaned the scrape carefully. You have been a nurse for too long. You are not the worst patient I have handled. He almost smiled. When she finished, she did not move her hand right away. They sat across from each other in the yellow light without saying anything. After a moment, he reached inside his coat and brought out the brown bear. The fur was warm from being against him. I kept my word to her. Clara took the bear from his hands. She had given it to Lily on her 3rd birthday, the first toy Clara had bought new, not from a thrift store. She turned it over in her palms, and tears rolled down her face without sound. Damien. She did not lift her head. When this is over, you can tell her. He looked up. You sure? Yes, she needs to know, and you need to be allowed to be her father. He did not answer for a long time. He just looked at her. Then he nodded. Once. He slept maybe 3 hours. By 6 he was at the kitchen counter making coffee, in a clean white shirt, the dark suit folded over the chair beside him. He heard the small footsteps coming down before he saw her. Lily appeared in the doorway in her pajamas, hair sleep-pressed, the brown bear back under her arm. You came back. He went down on one knee and opened his arms, and for the first time, he held his daughter the way a father holds his child. Both arms. Without thinking about it. I thought you were not coming back, she whispered into his shoulder. I promised. She wriggled out of the hug and produced a folded sheet of paper from behind her back. He opened it. A drawing in colored pencil. 3 figures standing in front of a small house with a yard. A tall man in a dark tie. A woman with brown hair. A girl in between them. At the top, in careful, uneven blue letters, Our house. That is you. That is Mom. That is me. And that is our house. He looked at the drawing for a long time. Long enough that Clara, watching from the kitchen doorway with a coffee cup in her hand, saw his eyes go red at the edges. He folded the paper in half along the existing fold, and again, and slid it into the inside breast pocket of his jacket. Did you draw it before I left? Or after? Before. But I added the words last night when you were gone. He had to swallow before he could speak again. Do you know that is one of the most important things anyone has ever given me? I know, she said. That's why I gave it to you. At 8:45 he was in the front hall with his coat on. He turned to Clara. If I do not come back today, Joey knows what to do. You and Lily are taken care of. Money, security, all of it. For life. Don't say that. She stepped close and took his hand. You are coming back. I will try. For the first time in 8 years, he leaned forward and kissed her, very lightly, on the forehead. She did not pull away. Lily wrapped her arms around his leg. Take Bear. He picked up the bear from the chair where he had set it. Always. The car was idling at the curb at 9. In the back seat, on the way into the city, he took the drawing out and unfolded it on his knee. Our house. The blue pencil. The crooked roof. The crooked letters. He understood then that he could not die today. His daughter had given him an address he had to come back to. At 10 in the morning, St. Stephen's Church on Hanover Street stood quiet, its red brick warmed by a thin, late autumn sun. The doors were unlocked. 3 rows of votive candles flickered along the side aisle, lit early by an old woman who had already gone home. It had been a neutral ground for as long as anyone in the North End could remember. Damien arrived 10 minutes early. He took a pew in the 5th row from the altar, the same row his father had once sat in to broker a truce that had lasted 4 years and ended with 3 funerals. He set his coat folded beside him. He did not cross himself. Father Pasquale stood at the door, hands folded in front of him. He had buried more men from these pews than he had married. He was 68 years old. He had presided over 6 conversations exactly like this one in 3 decades, and he did not ask questions about any of them. Eli and Theo waited in the vestibule. 2 of Calloway's men stood across from them. Nobody spoke. Everyone's hands were where everyone could see them. At 10 precisely, the door opened. Vincent Calloway came down the center aisle without hurrying. 60 years old, charcoal suit, gray vest, a face that had been weathered by a life nobody would have chosen. He slid into the pew beside Damien and set a black leather portfolio on the wood between them. "You cost me, Marcus." His voice was low enough that the candles did not flicker. "An 8-year investment. Marcus was your man from the start. I just sent him back." Calloway gave a short, dry laugh. "What do you want, Vance?" Damien did not turn his head. He spoke straight at the altar. 3 things. 1, a permanent ceasefire between our houses, signed by you and by me, witnessed by the Russos. 2, you stop everything aimed at my family. Clara Whitmore, the girl, no exceptions, in writing. 3, in return, I hand you the entire Northeast arms market. I am out within 6 months. Calloway's eyebrows drew together. Northeast? Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. For a long beat, Calloway did not move. It was the thing he had been pushing toward for 20 years. "You are not serious. That book is $80 million a year." "I am serious. We are moving into legitimate. Real estate, restaurants, a small piece of tech. I do not need the trade." Calloway studied him. "I have heard you were transitioning, but the whole book, that is not negotiation. Vance, that is surrender. It is reassignment. I leave your world. You leave my family alone. I live the life I choose." "Why?" Damien reached into his inside breast pocket and unfolded the drawing on the pew between them. 3 figures in colored pencil. A small house, the blue, uneven letters across the top. "Our house." Calloway looked at it. He did not touch it. He looked at it for a long time. "You had a family once," Damien said. "You know." Calloway closed his eyes. He had buried his elder son in 89, the younger one in 2001. His wife had died of cancer 5 winters ago, in the bedroom of their house in Hyde Park. He had not been there at the end. "You know how to push a man, kid." "I am not pushing. I am proposing." Calloway exhaled. Slow. "Fine. I agree. But I have one condition. Name it. You give me Marcus. Marcus is in federal custody. You have lawyers. Get him out. Get him to me." "No." Damien's voice did not rise. "Marcus has a sister and 2 nieces under my protection. I gave him my word." Calloway turned his head fully to look at him for the first time in the whole conversation. "You keep your word to a man who turned on you. I keep my word to a man who did the wrong thing for a reason I understand." The old man stared at him for nearly half a minute. Then he nodded slowly. "You are not your father." "No, sir. That may be a good thing." They both stood. Calloway extended his hand. 7 days. Russo's as witness. Damien took it. The hand was old and dry and very strong. 7 days. Father Pasquale walked down from the side aisle and laid one palm on each of their shoulders, murmuring the small Latin blessing that had ended every conversation, like this one in this church for as long as anyone living could remember. When Damien stepped out of St. Stephen's onto Hanover Street, the late autumn sun was coming through the stained glass behind him in long stripes of red and gold. For the first time in 8 years, he felt something inside his chest go light. He pulled into the Safe House Drive at 1 in the afternoon. Clara was at the front window. He had not even cut the engine before she was on the porch. She came down the wooden steps without thinking, and crossed the small lawn, and put her arms around him before her mind caught up with what her body had decided to do. He went still for half a second. Then his arms came around her. "Damien," Lily's voice. She had come around the side of the house at a run, and now her arms wrapped around his thigh. The three of them stood in the bare leaves under the thin afternoon sun, and for a long minute none of them moved. "It's done," he said quietly into Clara's hair. "You and Lily are safe." She started to cry then, properly, the kind of crying she had not allowed herself in years. Lily looked up. "Mom, why are you crying?" "I'm happy, baby. I'm just happy." Inside, Lily insisted on showing him her work. 3 new drawings, the chapter she had finished in Charlotte's Web Wilbur, and the egg sack. Damien sat on the floor at her level and let her run through it, and his eyes did not leave her face. That evening, Eli and Joey came up the drive together. The papers for the Russo meeting needed initials and a signature. They worked through them at the kitchen table while a pot of something simple simmered on the stove. When the documents were back inside the briefcase, Eli stood, reached for his coat, and paused. "Boss, you are walking from a kingdom of 200 men to a wooden house in Cambridge." "I am. You are sure?" Damien glanced through the doorway. In the next room, Lily was on the rug, reading aloud to Clara from the book in her lap. Her hand was over her heart in the dramatic way she did when a story was getting good. 100%. Eli nodded. He stepped close and laid his hand on Damien's shoulder, briefly. It was a thing he had not done since the night Damien's father had been killed. Your father would have been proud, even if he never would have said it. After they left, Damien and Clara sat out on the porch swing. The night was cold. Clara wrapped a wool blanket around her shoulders and tucked her feet under her. "Damien, are you sure about getting out? The whole life that has been your whole life. It was my father's life. I lived it out of duty, not desire. What will you do?" He thought for a moment. Restaurants. A small chain through New England. A scholarship fund for kids in Dorchester. She gave a quiet laugh. Restaurants and scholarships. "You have been thinking about this for a long time. 6 years. Since the day my father died and I looked at what the family had made of him." The porch creaked when she shifted. The moon laid a pale stripe across the wet lawn. "Damien, I still don't know how I feel. About you. About all of it. I am not asking you to know. But I know one thing." She turned her face to his. "I don't hate you anymore. I haven't for a long time." He nodded, slowly. "That is what I needed to hear." They sat without speaking for a while. Inside, Lily had been asleep for half an hour. "Damien," Clara's voice was lower now. "Tell her, tomorrow, I will be there with you." He turned to her. "You are sure? She deserves her father, and you deserve your child." He laid his hand over hers on the bench between them, lightly. He did not close his fingers. "Thank you." That night he did not sleep. He sat at the small desk in the study downstairs with a single sheet of cream paper and a pen. For the first time in his life, he wrote a letter that was not a contract. "Lily," he wrote slowly. He wrote about a coffee shop near Tufts, about a girl who liked books better than flowers, about a black sedan that had begun parking outside her building, and a young man too afraid to do anything but lie, about a rainy night in June, and the wrong choice he had made for the right reasons, about the day, 8 years later, that a small girl in a navy raincoat had walked across a restaurant floor and asked if she could sit at his table. He folded the letter into thirds. He placed it in a small wooden box he had set aside for this purpose, and closed the lid. One day, when she was old enough, she would read it. Until then, it would wait. They had pancakes that morning. Damien made them. They were better than the first batch. After breakfast, Clara took Lily by the hand. "Sweetheart, come outside with me and Damien for a minute." The small back garden of the safe house was quiet in the late autumn light. The grass was crisp at the edges. A few yellow leaves came loose from the maple by the fence and drifted down while they walked. Lily darted ahead and bent over the lawn. "Mom, look, that one is so red. I am going to press it in my book." Clara sat on the wooden bench by the back wall. Damien stood beside her, his hands in his coat pockets. "Lily, come here for a minute. Mommy and Damien want to talk to you." Lily put the red leaf in her cardigan pocket and came over and dropped onto the cool grass cross-legged in front of them. Her chin lifted, her face open. "Are you and Damien getting married?" Damien almost choked on his own breath. He had not been ready for that. "No, sweetheart," Clara said quickly. "Not that. Something else." Damien knelt on the grass so his face was level with hers. "Lily, do you remember when I told you I had a child?" "Yes. 6 years old. Like me. That child is you, Lily. I am your dad." She did not move for a long moment. Her eyes went wide and stayed that way. Then she turned her head to her mother. "Mom, is that real?" Clara nodded. Her eyes filled, but she did not look away from her daughter. "It is real, baby. I am sorry I did not tell you sooner. It is the truth. Lily turned back to Damien. So you are my dad? Yes. Do you love me? He had to swallow before he could answer. Yes, very much. Even though I have only known you for a few weeks. She thought about that. Then she asked the question that came closest to undoing him. Are you going to leave again? Like the dads in books, who go away. No, I am not going to leave. Promise? Promise. She stood up and walked the 2 steps to him and put her arms around his neck. She did not shout, did not cry. She just held on. Clara came down on her knees in the grass beside them. After a minute, Lily whispered against his shoulder. But I am not going to call you Dad right away. I have to get used to it. He laughed, quietly. The laugh sat strangely in his chest. In a good way. You can call me whatever you want. Damien is fine. Then I will call you Damien. And when I am ready, I will call you Dad. Okay? The 3 of them sat on the grass without speaking. Wind moved through the maple. After a while, Lily lifted. If you are my dad, that means I am your dad's granddaughter, right? Yes, your grandfather. He died 8 years ago, so I never met him. No. She looked down at the leaf in her pocket. Then she stood and took it out and walked over and pressed it gently into Damien's palm. This is for him. You keep it for him. He could not speak. He folded his fingers carefully around the leaf. After lunch, the 3 of them walked the perimeter of the small garden. Lily held both their hands, one on each side, swinging her arms a little. It feels funny. What does, baby? Everybody has a dad. I didn't. I thought I was different from everyone. Now I'm the same. Clara bent and kissed her hair. You were always the same as everyone, baby. I was just slow telling you. That afternoon, Lily disappeared into the upstairs bedroom for an hour with her colored pencils. When she came down, she pulled Damien aside and handed him a fresh drawing. The same 3 figures. The same little house. At the top, in careful new letters, Dad Damien. He took the drawing. He took the 3 from before. He treated them the way another man might treat a deed to a piece of land he would never sell. That night, Lily would not let anyone else read to her. He sat on the edge of her bed and read the next chapter of Charlotte's Web in his low, even voice. When he tucked the blanket up to her chin, she caught his sleeve. Damien, is Mommy falling in love with you again? He stopped. He looked at her for a long moment. I don't know, Lily. That is your mom's decision. She smiled, sleepy already. I think she is. The next morning, in a small private room at the back of a Russo restaurant in the West End, the ceasefire was signed. 3 names on cream paper: Vincent Calloway, Damien Vance, Tomas Russo as witness, no photographs, no handshakes for the cameras, the kind of agreement only the men in the room would ever know existed, and the kind that would hold because of exactly that. Damien officially began his exit from the arms trade that same week. The transition would take 6 months. Joey set the schedule. Eli moved the people who needed moving. A week after the signing, Clara and Lily moved back into the small apartment in Dorchester. Eli had quietly added 2 layers of security. No neighbor would ever notice a new lock, a new door behind the old one, a man on the corner 3 nights a week who looked like he was waiting for a bus. Clara never mentioned it. Damien never mentioned it. He did not ask to move in. He did not ask to stay over. He arrived twice a week, sometimes 3, always at the time he had said he would. He brought books, once a small set of colored pencils, once a scarf Lily had said in passing she liked the color of. Never anything expensive. Clara watched him. The man who came to the door was not the 29-year-old she had once loved, and he was not the figure in a newspaper photograph she had once feared. He was somebody new, still quiet, still careful with words, tender with their daughter, patient with her in a way that did not ask anything back. One Friday evening, he took Lily to a puppet show on Boston Common. When he brought her home, he stood in the doorway and did not step inside. "Do you want to come in for coffee?" Clara asked. It was the first time she had asked. He nodded once and stepped through. Lily was asleep within 20 minutes. Puppet shows took everything a 6-year-old had. Clara made 2 mugs of coffee and set them on the small kitchen table. They sat across from each other in the lamplight. "I have been thinking about a question," she said. "One you have not asked, but I know you wanted to." "What?" "Whether I could forgive you, not just for Lily's sake, for my own." He set his cup down. He did not speak. "I was angry at you for 7 years, she said slowly. "I thought you were a man who had lied to me about another woman. I built a whole version of your character around that, and I stood on top of it because I had to stand on something. When I learned the truth, I did not know where to put you in my head anymore, victim or criminal, the man I loved or the man I should fear." He listened. He did not interrupt, but there is something I have understood these last few weeks. You have changed. The 29-year-old with shadows in him is not who I see anymore. I see a man who chose the truth even when the truth had a price. You faced Marcus and did not kill him. You kept your word to a man who had betrayed you. You walked away from an empire to keep my family safe. You told Lily who you were, when you could have hidden behind being a friend. She drew a breath. Damien, I forgive you. Not because you are perfect, because you have done everything a man can do to make it right. He could not speak for a long moment. Clara, thank you. I do not know what to say. Don't say anything. Just stay. They sat in the silence. Outside, the wind moved through the window frame. After a while, she added, more softly, I am not saying I am ready to be with you. Not yet. I have been alone for 7 years. I need to learn how not to be alone first. I have the rest of my life to wait. Don't say something that corny. You are not that kind of man. I have changed. For the first time in 8 years, they laughed at the same time, in the same room. This story has reached the moment that holds its deepest meaning, and perhaps the moment most worth pausing on. The lesson of Damien and Clara does not lie in who he once was, or in how long she kept the truth hidden. It lies in this: true forgiveness is not forgetting. It is choosing to see a person as who they are now, instead of who they used to be. Damien did not earn his forgiveness with words. He earned it with every visit kept on time, every promise honored, every step away from the shadow he had lived in for too long. And Clara, after 7 years of carrying everything alone, was brave enough to open her heart one more time. Not because she was weak, because she was strong. In life, perhaps each of us has someone we once thought we could never forgive, someone who walked away, someone who hurt us, someone who chose silence when they should have spoken. Sometimes that person comes back not to take back what was lost, but to make it right through quiet, patient presence. Dear viewers, how does this story make you feel? If you ever stood where Clara stood, choosing between keeping a safe wall up or opening the door one more time, what would you choose? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one, and every story you leave behind becomes a small, precious piece of this community. If this video moved you, even a little, please hit the subscribe button, give it a like, and share it with someone who needs to hear this story today. It is the most meaningful way you can support us in continuing to bring you emotional, heartfelt stories every day. Wishing all of you watching today the very best of health, a life full of joy and peace in every passing moment. Goodbye for now, and we will see you in the next video.